Hey guys, Hubbard Hot Take this morning. This article out of Omaha, Nebraska has me literally hot this morning. It is an early morning, and let's get started with this. Drake Geiger is a high school football player, passed away last week. We are assuming exertional heat stroke. I haven't said much about this yet. He is one of three high school football players and a college football player to have all passed away since August 1st while playing football. The initial article, when I read it, had me questioning a lot of things. I don't want to jump to conclusions. They said he passed out 10 minutes into practice, which seems really early for exertional heat stroke. They said that the hospital did compressions for an extended period of time. That doesn't seem appropriate for heat stroke. The parents said that the doctors said his body temperature was extremely high. That is heat stroke. So a lot of questions still. So that's why I haven't said a whole lot. But last night there was a news article out of Nebraska, news segment that talked about the Nebraska Schools Activities Association. Policy on heat illness or heat acclimatization and heat policies in general. These are absolutely absurd. So let's look at this here for a second. I'm referring to all this back on my computer. That's why I keep looking away from the screen. First of all, they are using heat index. Welcome to 1980. We no longer use heat index. So they're using heat index. The beginning of their heat policy starts at 90 degrees heat index. 90 to 104, right? Yeah, 90 to 104. They suggest modifying practice. Take water breaks every, 15 to 20 minutes. 105 to 124. They say no helmet or shoulder pads. They say, you know what, you better take water every 15 minutes. Greater than 125. A heat index greater than 125. You shouldn't practice. Guys, I work in the state of Texas here. We used to use heat index as a heat policy. We were off the field at 115 in Texas. Now we know that heat policies should be regional dependent. Okay? Individuals here in the state of Texas are much more likely to be accustomed and acclimatized to the heat than somebody in Nebraska. Okay? So, if we're using a heat policy, using heat index here in Texas, it's likely to be higher than what it should be in Nebraska. Regardless, 125 is ridiculous. Going back to the original story here, they said that the heat index that night, it was the first day of football practice. Tends to be the deadliest practice that exists the first couple of days. They said the heat index was 105, anywhere between 106 and 108. That's hot, okay? But again, heat index isn't the appropriate measurement anyway. So let's take a look here. I'm going to flip back over. Corey Stringer Institute at the University of Connecticut rates state associations on player safety. The state of Nebraska scores an 11.75 out of 20 on exertional heat stroke. Now, let's look at some of these scores here. State requires all schools to have a heat modification policy. They get 0.625 points for that. Okay, so they get the point for that. This policy is based off wet bulb. No, they get no points for that one. Instead, it's using heat index, which is an adequate alternate They get 0.265 points for that. I guess it's better than nothing. Using data from that region, 0. Heat policy has a minimum of 4 levels of modification, including modification of practice time. This really only has 3, but I guess if you include the green zone where they can do whatever they want, that would be the 4th step. Okay. Includes modification for equipment, yeah. Modification for work to rest ratios, including unrestricted access to fluids, yeah. Mentions the use of a shaded area for rest breaks. It really doesn't, that I can see. Maybe it's in another area. And then they also fail here, cold water immersion, tubs for on-site cooling, 0, and exertional heat stroke, transport, cool first, transport second, 0. Now let's also look at emergency action plans piece here and appropriate health care. Nebraska does require licensure of athletic trainers. They get points for that, good. However, they do not require or recommend athletic trainers for contact or collision sports. They get 0s for those. Emergency preparedness. On the emergency preparedness section of this state policies paper, they get up to 20 points, and they are scoring 6. And all they're scoring points on here is that they are requiring coaching education. They get 4 points there. And they are requiring the use of the 4th edition of PPE forms from the American Academy of Pediatrics or equivalent. So, again, we don't know specifics of this situation yet. More is coming out. So I'm not speaking specifically to this situation necessarily. But looking at the state of Nebraska, the Nebraska State Activities Association policies, it's time for an update. And this needs to be the reason we update. We can't allow this to continue to happen. Exertional heat stroke doesn't just happen in the South, people. It happens in all parts of the country. It happens in warm areas. It happens in cooler areas. It happens when temperatures are higher than normal. A 125 heat index is just throwing a number out to say that we have a policy. It doesn't necessarily mean a damn thing. We need regional-based policies. We need them to make sense. And we need them in place and followed to keep our athletes safe. This is today's Hopper Hot Take. You guys have a great day.